Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching Pretty Little Liars, Original Sin, Season 1, Episode 7.
8. Bad Blood.
I didn't think this through. Okay. Apparently, the last 3 are just out.
Yeah.
And so...
kind of fucked up our schedule for tonight.
So we're just going to try and plow through them.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, this worked. We just had a PLL week.
Yeah, it was... I'm honestly great. I love cramming it into like a small period of time like this.
I know how much you do love cramming it in.
Jeez.
So, okay, I feel like we have a slight role reversal because I mostly just enjoyed this episode, but you and Rachel were poking all kinds of holes in it from like very technical, like minutia places.
All right, my first issue is I had it but we didn't talk about it very much at the end of the last episode, which is that their bright idea is to use the blood drive to get samples from all the boys in school to see if they can see who raped Tabby and Imogen. The first issue is that Tabby doesn't have any corresponding DNA. Like, she didn't scratch them or she doesn't have anything. So we're going to do an invasive procedure on Imogen and her baby in order to get that DNA to compare it against. Issue number 1. She's already high risk because she's so young, doing an amniocentesis on a baby. She's also like 8 months. So it's like maybe wait till the baby's born at this point. I don't know, whatever. So that's issue 1. Issue 2 is then they go to Noah's mom to be like, hey, this happened. We're going to do this. Can you help? And she's like, sure, I have a friend in the lab. No problemo. And
but make sure you give it straight to me.
Straight to me. Known drug user and dealer. And so then it's like, they get all the girls basically are like signed up to help with the blood drive, which is fine.
Well, they have to recruit Kelly, which they went about it like it was going to be a piece of cake. Luckily for them, it was.
There was no issue. Kelly's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so then they like, okay, here's my issue. They are not going about this like it's just so around their ass to get to their elbow. Because they are going to take the cotton balls that you like before, when you get the Band-Aid, it's usually a cotton ball. They're going to take all the cotton balls only from the boys. And I was like, this is already like so many like layers deep. Like you're going to have like individual bags and stuff. Nope. All into one trash bag.
They're just narrowing it down at this point.
But they're not.
Well, no, they are, because the problem is, the football players won't do the blood drive because they're all secretly doping.
Yeah.
And so then they come up with
but not Sean.
So then they come up with the idea, which sort of renders, because it's one of the football players. So it's like it renders the whole blood drive aspect of it sort of moot, where they can just go scrape some of like the jizz pit stain hair tooth decay that's all just caked all over that
locker room is gnarly.
So then why are we even futzing with the blood drive at this point?
Well, because one of them is going to end up being, something's going to end up being a regular student. But here's my issue. By testing everybody, you're only narrowing it down to one group of boys at the school or another group of boys at the school. Whereas if you had thought about it for, 15 more minutes, you could have come up with a system that you could test them individually. That would have been too complicated.
Once they figure out which group of boys it is, they can then come up with another way.
They'll just go stab them really quick.
With the individual baggies.
It's not efficient. And they are acting so weird with each other because Noah comes up to Kelly and is like, Kelly, I see your bag of cotton balls has gotten quite full. Can I change it for you? And Kelly is like, that would be tremendous. Thank you, Noah. Ridiculous.
I had zero issues with it. It all checked for me. You did say, because you and Rachel were both like scoffing the whole time, and you did say you were like, as murderinos, you were like, we can't. It's not fun for me watching it with two murderinos who know exactly how all.
Well, because the other thing is it's like when you're just throwing all of the cotton balls into that they're gonna also then contaminate each other, which again, if you're just trying to find out if it's like the normal boys or the sportsy boys, I guess is fine. But then you're right. If you're just gonna go like through the locker room anyway, then why are you still collecting the cotton balls?
It's one of the TV tropes, like the whole like you got to keep them on the line for 60 seconds for us to find it. It's for television, but you know, I'll let you have it because different people have different areas of expertise, and sometimes that can derail. Like if you're like, wait a minute, that's not how.
I am certainly not a forensic expert, but if I know one thing, it's that you can't store two blood samples together or you won't know the truth.
I very cavalierly skipped right over Crazy Joe last week.
We both did.
And well, you brought it up, and I was like, he's not going to come back. I have no concept why I thought that. Yeah, no. Why I was so I think because I thought he was a means to an end, and I thought so the Radley was the end.
Yeah.
Or that Radley. And so I was sort of like, cool. He was a student as well who had a crush on Angela, and he was mad at the mothers for destroying Angela, which they seemingly did. So they went and he lives, or well, no, I don't fucking know.
I think he lives in the train depot.
Okay.
But because he had like coffee and like all kinds of stuff in there, but I think he like delivers groceries to A, who I suspect at this point with no proof whatsoever, I think it's Angela's like brother. I think there's a brother somehow.
I just deleted all of my notes.
Uh-oh.
And I don't know how to undo it.
One eternity later.
I'm so sorry, because you were making a point. I accidentally hit the delete button, and I watched it go, okay. So you think there's a brother?
I think that Angela had to have had like a brother or something.
Who is A?
Yeah. Because it's in the whoever it is in the Angela Waters house and has kept a corpse. So a Rose for Emily style in the bedroom.
I assumed Rose for Emily style, which I was glad you said it first because I was going to say flowers for Algernon.
No, that's a sweet story.
I think it's Rose.
The body, yes.
Yeah, I think it's the mother.
I'd imagine. Although that's so much decomp for like
what could have only been a couple years.
Like 2 years maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. How did they find the house? Imogen went to the house to like look for.
Yeah, Imogen found it.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter.
She went in the nurse's office. She was getting more cookies, and she went in the nurse's office and searched for Angela Waters and found her address in the nurse's office.
And so it turns out it was like properly decrepit,
but like set design
by the state decrepit, but apparently not because Joe was visiting it.
Yeah,
and
the A mask was like hanging on the wall,
which the stitching on the mask is an A, obvious, but I didn't realize that until this moment.
Yeah. Well, his stringy hair has been hanging in front of it every time till now.
Someone's stringy hair, and Joe was very sort of like,
I told you to leave it alone.
Well, now I have to kill this pregnant teenager, and came slashing at her.
Oh my God.
And then there was a really stupid chase where she ran into a room and then ran into another room, and somehow like the
he was confused,
treated it like he had lost her in the maze.
There was like only one direction for her to go.
At one point she shut a door, leaned on it, went like this, and ran some more. And I was like, is he just waiting on the other side? It was very dumb. After you said it, I was like, this is not a good episode.
No, it's not very good. I mean, it's whatever. I kind of enjoy it, but
so what I liked is they find one of the things that I have enjoyed at this part about the show is how kind of just weird it is, and trusts that will get it and follow along. And so there was a handful of things that we finally got, and not necessarily confirmation, but it finally acknowledged, where we finally acknowledged that Tabby's just recording these boys.
Yeah,
and
Sydney
that in this world that is frowned upon.
Yeah.
And
she was like, do you have any idea how much trouble you would have gotten in if anybody else had found this? And
when she didn't even really say what it is. Like, I mean, we can assume it's related to, but I still don't fully know.
Well, because it wasn't until like the scene after that she finally told Sydney that she had been raped.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Because I think it was Gratian that he was like, I think maybe she's comparing bodies. And I'm like, sure.
But again, with like your drugged, faulty memory of a traumatic night, I don't know how much I would remember.
And every time the first image we see, I guess it is Kelly. I wasn't sure. I was like, the first image we see is a blonde girl. Mm. And I don't know why they're making that choice that to show us that. And there was also a Really sloppy.
Which Rachel pointed out.
I would have never noticed it.
It would not have hit
Once
me
Rachel
either.
pointed it out, it was unforgivable. Where Sydney is sitting at this like immaculately appointed Thanksgiving dinner,
like alone
for the three of them. And she did say dinner's at 6, so that makes sense. But she was sort of like reminiscing, and so she reminisced back to the night that Tabby came home, and she's remembering it. But then within her memory, within her flashback, we flashbacked from Tabby's to the night.
So like Sydney had a Tabby flashback in her flashback. It was fucking weird.
It's sloppy.
Yeah. I can't believe like there's a room. I mean, I'm sure that they just were like, it'll be fine. But there's like a room full of people.
They were clarifying that we were
followed.
They were making it clear, because that is one thing this show does that I do appreciate, even though it can lead some plots to feel leaden. Like, because they did it with Noah when she was at Sean's house for Thanksgiving, where she had to remember him telling her that he wasn't doping to justify her going to look for it.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing that once she found it, I would have remembered that conversation.
Well,
so
also, this is the second time I'm invoking Varsity Blues, but his fucking James Vanderbeek's dad character, you should really be training. And he's like, it's fucking Thanksgiving.
It was to make it clear to the audience, but if you can't do that with another character's memory.
Right. Yeah.
It's very funny.
There also was like a really fun moment where Kelly brings all the girls to the nurse's office to be like, these are volunteers for the blood drive. And Imogen is like, oh, we want everyone's blood. And I was like,
well, and there
what
was
a
also
suspiciously phrased thing to say.
Their mission was accomplished. And so they all decided to go out clubbing, which is a staple of these types of shows. And I mean, as silly as it was, I thought it was a fantastic scene.
Sure.
I enjoy Kelly being
part of the group. Yeah.
So this is a quintessential. This is an archetype. It's in every show. And she usually has this arc where they introduce this type of character. She's heinous. They soften her. There's a teeter-tot, you know. I'm fine with Kelly being bitchy, but I like her being
one of the gang. Yeah.
Certainly adjacent, certainly part of.
Also,
she's also back to maybe being Karen.
I have no fucking idea. She did kind of tell her dad off a little, which was nice. And he's just remains plowing dudes in alleys. So I don't know. At least that one looked like a grown up.
Yeah. I was curious if it was if we're ranking crimes, the badness. I was like, so is it the kid part or is it the man part? Like the boy part?
The kid part for me.
No, what he was after. And it was the boy.
Oh.
He's gay is what it seems.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's still bad. Not that he's gay.
Well, did we know that kid was the first kid was underage?
He looked young. Yeah. Really young, yeah.
And it is Pretty Little Liars.
And at high school.
If we can be sure of one thing, it's that they're underage.
Well, that's the other thing, too, that I was going to say is I think softening Kelly/Karen is super appropriate because so far, none of these girls is like the Allison. It was Davy who was the Allison.
Well, that's sort of like...
Who was like the bitchy ringleader.
As much as I like Sydney, she's hit me sideways a couple of times. Because I think she's hard on Imogen. And aside from the fact that Imogen is a pregnant teenager, which they've made clear was an accident, Imogen seems to be such a good egg. She really seems to have,
a head on her shoulders. Well, that's the thing is like Sydney got her letter in this one. Because I was even thinking the same thing. I was like, well, we haven't had like whatever her crime was. And it's silence because she didn't speak up about it. I don't think she did anything bad to Angela. She just didn't help. And so I think Sydney is still the best of the moms. But they also just keep...
But she tried to tack... Why am I having such a hard time? Tabby. She tried to tack Tabby's bad behavior on Imogen.
Ever since Imogen moved in, you've been like a different person. And I'm like...
Imogen didn't move in.
Yeah.
She was thrown into chaos.
Yeah. And also, I mean, Tabby's been dealing with stuff. They have very interestingly made Wes into seemingly a different character.
I think it's just to keep us on our toes.
Okay. Because he's like not trying to do anything.
Well, he just was. in that scene, the power dynamic had shifted from the previous scenes
Sure.
where he was like approaching her sort of like,
Hey, what's up?
hey, can
Yeah.
I enter into your space? Like,
Yeah.
and I think they're just trying to throw us. I'm not entirely
Like,
sure.
is he gonna get real molesty again in a minute?
I would hope not, but I
Like-
don't know, because he then encouraged her, because the fucking all the teachers in this school,
Well,
all
you
the
were
men
you said something about the principal like 2 episodes
being
ago.
worthless.
And I was like, I mean, he's just like a school administrator. I don't know that worthless. No, he's worthless. Because Tabby wants to make like a reverse rape revenge fantasy movie from a female perspective, which I think is a really excellent idea.
But nothing in my 37 years of life on this earth has checked as hard as that.
Oh, of course.
As a teacher being like, this is inappropriate.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Whilst being not only part of the problem, but like spearheading the problem. I mean, there's a House of 1,000 Corpses poster behind
on
him.
his wall.
This is a really postery school. There is bric-a-brac everywhere.
It's very poster heavy and it's very horror poster heavy. Like, is this a horror movie?
I think it's a
Film
horror
class?
reality.
Okay.
I think it's with all the where you were like, how many unhinged? And I was like, I think that this is the world that the purge takes place in.
That's fine. I agree that would absolutely happen, the teachers. But it's like, first of all, the teachers, like, you have to get your mom to sign off on this. And I have to talk to the principal. So she gets her mom to sign off on it. And then she's like going ahead with it. And then the principal is like, everybody is going to be uncomfortable with this. And I'm like,
it's very like with Mean Girls, like the MPAA explaining to Tina Fey specifically the things that she can't do in Mean Girls because it's inappropriate for the kids. And she's like, they're literally the ones who told me this stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
I interviewed 15-year-old girls and this is what they said to me. Yeah, I don't know. It's all just like, it obviously checks from like a real world perspective, but if this is 3 universes over where the purge happens, I'm pissed. So
really bold of me to make this a multiverse. Like,
I mean, that is totally, there are certain shows that do take, like, I mean, Pushing Daisies doesn't take place in the real world. You know, it's a whole thing.
Because another one of the things that we got confirmation of in this episode is that Ash is trans.
Yeah.
And I just
like he said the words, which was,
and it was so casual and so nothing. I kind of live like
it's
I
amazing.
was like, wow, that's where. And he got his guns out for the blood drive.
Boy, he's cute.
That's what you needed.
I like him a lot.
You wasted so much time on these fucking older douchebags in high school. You needed yourself a little trans boy.
I didn't know any better. I was warped by the patriarchy. Also, nobody in our school would have come out as trans. Our school was terrible. Our school was like a holdover from the 90s.
We were on the cusp.
Yeah.
There was another mouse story.
Oh, yeah. She went to try to find her dad.
And again,
dressed up like a Girl Scout.
Mm-hmm. And she said dad in front of the little girl holding the Molly American doll.
Yeah.
American Girl doll. So I'm sort of like, thank God that plot's over, but also we're going to be seeing more from that any moment. And then she went back and like unblocked Steve and was like, hey, well,
he said, hey, exclamation point. I thought you didn't want to talk to me anymore. And I was just like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And then she said, crappy Thanksgiving.
Which you thought was like a salutation?
At first, I thought she was like, crappy Thanksgiving. Hey, what's up? But it was like crappy Thanksgiving, period. So I wanted to talk kind of a thing, but zoinks. She also did, though, wear this like really fun, like brick wall with like a window and curtains shirt at one point, which was big fun for me.
I also loved Kelly's loveful.
Oh, yeah, heart. The like heart keyhole.
And Imogen's fucking bodysuit which okay, the last thing that we need to be nitpicking on shows like this is their never-ending wardrobe. But where did pregnant Imogen get this like mod bodysuit from?
It's spectacular.
Farron is over corset training her.
She's overusing. It's the back brace.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an actual corset. Yeah, she's like overtraining, and then Madame Giry pushed Giselle to next year, and she's like, as opposed to being like, oh, great, then I like, I'll still be able to do it next year. She's like, oh my God, it's like the worst thing ever that like you're not doing it this year. I'm better. And I was like, you have had this brace for approximately 1 day.
Yeah, I mean, Henry was in an episode. Greg and Kelly were making out. That's when she told him to call her
Karen.
Karen.
Is it okay? I can't decide if she is Karen or if she just wants to like feel special like Karen.
I'm thinking that.
But she's the only one left. She's the special one now.
And now that we know that she can like at least step to her dad.
Yeah. There also was in the A house, there was like ropes on a bed and then like a human-sized cage with hay in it. What are you doing in there, pig? The Venn diagram.
Well, and Joe killed himself because they decided that they needed to go confront him.
Yeah.
And Imogen was like, or one of them was like, well, he'll try to kill us. And she was like, well, there's 5 of us and 1 of him. Which, no.
And then they're like, and also we have a set of butcher knives, like as if that's a special thing.
And then it cut, like they deflect. And then it cuts to them all just standing like
this, walking around the house.
But my favorite part is she was like, there's 5 of us and 1 of him. And one of you made like a scoffing comment. And I was like, well, actually, that is true. However, that doesn't guarantee all 5 of them are walking out of this.
Because I was like, oh, yes, 5 15-year-old girls against 1 adult man who is clearly not scared of knifing 15-year-old girls.
I was like, because Mouse is dead. You're going to lose Mouse.
Sure.
Tabby, I'm unsure of. Farron feels scrappy.
Well, so I think Tabby would survive because she watches so many horror movies.
A power ranking, a tiered list of the...
So Tabby would survive because she's used to horror movies. She knows the mistakes not to make. Farron would survive for sure because she's scrappy. I think Noah would just run away.
I was going to say Noah, I think, would crack.
And she's sportsy.
I think I think you would think she would be good, but I think she would freeze.
Oh, you think she'd... Yeah. Okay, so then...
And Imogen would final girl with the help of a Deus Ex Machina Kelly, who comes sweeping in with like a melon baller.
She can't do it alone, but she could do it. Yeah. I don't know.
Cut print.
Mouse has that darkness though. I think she's a dark horse coming out of this for sure. She's fucking posing as people's snatched kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
She convinces Joe that he's one of them.
Joe, why are you doing this? So the only other thing is so he hanged himself, and then also Tyler's dad came to Tabby's house and
there
was
were so
like
many bold pant choices in this episode.
It was ridiculous. But it was again the same thing as the sheriff where he was like, I know you did something to my son. And I was just like, how? Like she hit him in the face, but you must know your child. You must know he sucks, right? They also do know he's dead. They got the photo.
They know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like no one else knows. He just hasn't been home.
And they do learn because they checked the stalls in the bathroom.
Yeah.
To make sure they were alone. So
which was good.
I think I absolutely understand your critiques. I think it was a mixed.
Forensically, this episode was terrible.
We're also hoping this was always the plan and that they didn't just dump this because they're on the way of canceling it. So we'll see.
HBO Max is really going through it, so we'll see.
All right. Bye.
Bye.